On today's show, you've heard about the brutal lynching of Jordan Neely on the subway in New York and the whole system that empowered this white ex-Marine to snuff out the life of a homeless black man. You've heard about the U.S. government under Joe Biden sending the military to the border to hunt down migrants who made a desperate journey to come here because this country has fucked up Latin America so bad that people can't even survive in their own homelands. This is just a small sample of the state of the world, torn apart and ravaged by this system of capitalism imperialism, a system which grinds up the lives and suffocates the potential of billions of people on this planet. College campuses should be hotbeds of resistance and revolution, centers of intellectual ferment where students are searching out answers to the big problems facing humanity. But what do we have instead? Way too many college students obsessing over identity, inclusion, safe spaces, and canceling people out. This is what we're setting out to radically change with a speaking tour that Sunsara Taylor and I are on. You've been giving a very powerful speech. We've gone to Berkeley, UC San Diego, and pretty soon at UCLA.
That's right. The speech is called, as we've said, Woke Lunacy versus Real Revolution. And the situation that you described, Raphael, with students caught up canceling each other, hiding from the larger world and not thinking about it the way they need to be. All this woke business is not just a dead end. It is doing tremendous harm. And this is why we've been taking it on. And so far, up in Berkeley, down in San Diego, and soon here at UCLA, we've been opening this up. It's been very controversial, but it's been very uplifting and controversial in a good way. And we've actually lifted some of these young people, the student sites, to a real revolution. We want to share some of what we got into, 2 clips that we want to share from our experience in San Diego. So to set up the first one, I want to read a quote from Bob Avakian that's on the flyer that we've been promoting. It says, "Masses of people are being brutalized and savaged. The world is burning, literally as well as figuratively. And you are preoccupied with changing the faces of those who preside over these horrors and spitting on people if they don't use the nouns and pronouns that you approve of, or in some other way violate the constantly mutating standards of wokeness." And this is a quote directed at woke folk. And so this is, there's other things on this flyer, but this quote has come up and been a point of controversy, both in building for the events and in the events themselves. And we want to show a segment where somebody, actually a number of students in the audience in San Diego, objected to the way he talked about the obsession with pronouns and spitting on people who use the wrong pronouns. And they also brought up an article from Bob Avakian called Pronouns and Starving Children, which we were distributing. So you'll hear both those things referenced in this clip.
All right, let's watch.
Scientific study has shown that using the preferred pronouns of trans people, and especially trans youth, improves their mental health and prevents suicides. So following that up, I guess I'm wondering why I'm seeing kind of reactionary rhetoric against preferred pronouns. This is, I guess, a very disingenuous argument because it is possible to both care about children starving in the third world and also care about trans people.
I kind of raise an eyebrow at word choices like lunacy and real revolution ostensibly versus fake revolution. Do we believe in this, the others do not, etc. And it kind of perturbs me.
Okay.
Because on the whole, maybe this is just me, but when it comes to the things that I agree with you with, namely things like cancel culture being a farce, the things that I agree with you with, my response is, well, no shit. And the things that I disagree with you with, I'm left feeling like you're overgeneralizing things.
The name of the article that's in that pamphlet is Pronouns and Starving Children. And he starts out the article by pulling the lens back to the big picture in the world. And he says, since World War II, just think about this statistic, 250 million children, if I'm getting the statistic right, 250 million children have died of starvation and preventable disease because of capitalism. Because we live in a system where food and medicine are not produced to meet social need, they're produced as commodities to be bought and sold for a profit. No other reason than that. You know, if someone lined up 250 million children up,
It's
Even two.
350.
350. If someone lined up 50 children up against a wall and shot them one by one in front of you, everyone would say, what a fucking barbaric system. Like, let's get together and stop whoever's doing that from doing it. But literally, you know, millions of children every year are dying of starvation and preventable disease for no other reason than the fact that the system is dominated by a tiny class of capitalists and enforced by police and military. You know, and we have the power to actually do something about that. But what is going on college campuses and beyond is people are focused on pronouns. People are focused on.
Millions of trans people die.
Look,
I mean, how can you like?
This is true, actually, and he makes the point. We'll get to you. 1 second, we'll get to you. He makes the point. I'm not here to argue about what pronouns
But then why
people
keep
use.
bringing it up?
And in the quote that Sunsara read earlier, Baba Bakian made very clear that the attacks on trans people should be like vigorously fought. But look, all the obsession with identity, this is what we're talking about. We're not just talking about, the phenomenon here is not just people wanting to use their preferred pronoun. I'll use whatever pronoun people want us to use. It is horrific, the suicide statistics among trans, something like
And there's
50%.
there's no argument made against using preferred pronouns. There's an argument. Hold on.
That's
No.
That's a Mon Bailey.
No, it's not. There's an argument over the obsession with it, over the canceling of people. And you better believe people are being spit on for making mistakes. And people are posturing like that's doing a damn thing to change the world. You are completely right that the culture and the acceptance of trans youth and trans people overall has everything to do with their mental health. But let's be real. If we want to end this horror for trans people, for queer youth and queer people as a whole, for women, for the 8 billion people on this planet who won't have a sustainable planet, we need to overthrow the system. And yes, people can do both. Pay attention to pronouns and to the 350 million starving children. Yes, they can. But let's be honest. Where do you see anything, and I have to say, to your idea that, revolution, the things I agree with, no shit. Where do you see anybody in this country fighting to bring this system down? To overthrow it so we don't have 350 more children starved to death and the planet set on fire. Where do you see that happening? I do not see people doing both. If we did, there wouldn't be that article. What you see instead is people thinking they are doing something, but it's precisely the cancel culture, the tear down culture, the you messed up an identity, the you be quiet and follow me because of my oppressed identity. That is not changing the world, that's playing around. And there is no argument.
A Band-Aid compared to really healing.
Yeah, it's true, and there is no argument. I will say, you're saying it's disingenuous. It's disingenuous to ascribe an argument. Look, there are people, we all know it's true, there are people who get out there and make a point of refusing to use people's preferred pronouns. And it's fucked up. And you are right to call that kind of thing out, but it's disingenuous to say that's what's being done in this piece. There's something being done precisely to get under people's skin, and I'm glad it got under your skin in a good way, and I hope you think about it and others do too, to say, where are we focused? That's where he began. What is the big picture? Where are we focused?
So as you can see, this was a very exciting and lively discussion in the question and answer. We got all kinds of questions from the students. And, one big theme that came out was the question of revolution. What is a real revolution? Why is it necessary? And why are we saying that this is a rare time when revolution is even more possible? So we're going to play a short clip from Sunsara Taylor addressing exactly these questions.
To overthrow this system with what its militaries and occupations and terror and torture around the world, you actually have to bring that down. There's no other way. So to do that, and this gets to the brother who asked the question about why is revolution more possible now. Raphael was talking about a big part of this. I just want to underscore it because we're living in a rare time. And the person who left early about we're going, could be the Holocaust in that exact form. History doesn't repeat itself, but we are heading towards something horrific. The Christian fascists who took over the Supreme Court, they're not stopping. They are really going for Handmaid's Tale. It's going to be a nightmare. The planet is burning up. The horrors of what climate destruction has already done to Latin America and other countries where people are fleeing, and then the nightmare being unleashed. by Border Patrol, by all over the world, the camps people are piling up in. The nightmare that is happening for humanity on a global scale that most people are not looking at and thinking about in this country. We are living in a time when the ways that people have been accustomed, you said the system's gone on for a long time, people have been accustomed to accept this system as legitimate because it's played by certain rules. There's been peaceful transfer of power. Maybe we don't like certain things, but at least we have a say-so, and at least we have peaceful transfer of power. Well, that's being blown up. Look what happened in Tennessee. This is happening. It's escalating by the week. Tennessee, students get massacred. They do a walkout. 2 junior state representatives stand with them, 3 actually. 2 of them are young and black, and the fascist majority of the Republican State House says, doesn't matter that you were elected, you are no longer representatives.
Montana, too.
Yeah.
Then they did it, exactly, I was gonna go there next. Then they did it last week. Fascists looked at it, ooh, new play. We're gonna put that in our playbook. They passed a fascist trans law there, and the trans representative, look, I don't think you can solve this with reforms and by entering this system, but this trans representative got up and said, when you go home and pray tonight after passing this law, I hope when you look at your hands, you see the blood of trans youth on them. Because you're absolutely right, the death rates, the suicide rates, this is what's gonna happen. They said, oh, out with you. This is not a democracy. Look, he's right, the democracy was always a cover for a class dictatorship. But right now, the ways that people have been conditioned to accept this system are being ripped up. And what it is mainly leading to is the fascists are on a tear, and people in this country with their American privilege and their comfort are largely retreating inward to themselves. They're hiding from this reality. And you have a situation where the fascists are on the march, and the decent people have their heads up their fucking asses and are laying down for this. And why are we taking on woke, and why are we challenging people? Because decent people are playing around canceling each other over petty shit rather than facing this real horror and standing up to it. But we're in a time when, because the norms are being ripped open, there are big questions being forced open that if we got serious, if we got organized, if we spread this, We Are the RevCom's mission, read it. This is what we're doing. We're spreading it to millions right now. We need to be able to work together as you're learning about it. Get this out there. Let them know there's a different way we could be, and work together, debate it. We could be reaching millions in a time like this. And the other thing that makes it a rare time, that actually speaks to why a revolution, how it could be made in a way that is not normally possible, is that the divisions among the rulers go down through every part of society, including among the population and also within the institutions of the state, including their armed forces and their institutions of repression. They're not all, half of them for revolution and half of them for fascism. But when you have fascist laws and you have half your military, or 80% of it is people from among the oppressed, who are being called out. Look, there was a little window. I'm going to give 2 examples, then we're going to go somebody who didn't raise. Yeah, you hadn't spoken yet. During 2020, it's very interesting, and this is an indication of what makes this a unique time. When the National Guard was called out to Washington, D.C., and the U.S. military with the Black Hawk helicopters in D.C. so Trump could walk across and pose in front of the church, a lot of those National Guard are black, Latino. A lot of the black guardsmen were ashamed to tell their families what they were doing, that they were there to police the Black Lives Matter protests. And you see how even their own armed forces, during Vietnam, the armed forces split apart. During the Vietnam War, after they were getting their asses kicked, it was an unjust war, huge numbers of people. There's a film, Sir No Sir, about the rebellion within the military. They couldn't deploy their military because the Black Panther Party leaders, because other anti-war leaders were more popular than the president among the military. And so there were all kinds of units that wouldn't go out and fight anymore. And they couldn't deploy them. You can have, in a time like this when the norms are being ripped up, you actually have splits in their institutions. You saw dimensions of this with the overturning of Roe as well. U.S. veterans, female veterans, who said, I fought for this country, I served this country. They came back and they burned their uniforms when that right got taken away. They said, what did I fight for? I'm treated as a second-class citizen. What is this country? You start to see the contours of how you could actually break apart and weaken there. You still are going to have a fight. They're still going to be powerful, but they're less powerful. They're more prone to being split apart, and there's more basis to win people among the revolutionaries among the people. And if you waste a time like this, we are headed towards something horrific when we could actually bring about something truly emancipating, which is why we're fighting with people to think of the big picture. Think of the 300 million children around the world. Think about the world future for the planet. And let's seize this time. All right, so this speaking tour, Woke Lunacy versus Real Revolution, is off to a very good start. And we're just starting to crack open the straitjacket of this woke indoctrination on these students and young people. And it's showing some of the potential, but this needs to go much higher and become something that spreads across this country and recruiting students into this revolution. So we're taking this, again, May 24th at UCLA. If you're in the area, you have to be there and bring people and join in the campaign to bring others. And wherever you are across this country, reach out to us. Book this tour on your campus in the fall. Reach out now. Start working with this effort. We have to bring this new generation into this revolution. And it's urgent, and this is a key part of that.